Hello Year 10 and welcome to another poetry lesson. Before we get on to today's poem, as per usual rather, these lessons are following exactly the same format each time. So I want you to write down 3 quotations from I Wouldn't Thank You for a Valentine, which is the last one we did, from memory. And for at least one of these quotations, do a quotation explosion to explore language and structure devices. Now, if you haven't managed to memorise them, get them onto cards and put them into your revision folder. Obviously make sure you label which poem they come from. When you've done that, onto the next slide. Now, our learning objective today is to read and analyse In Paris with You by a chap called Fenton. So the title that goes into your books is In Paris with You by Fenton. Quick reminder, for this lesson you're going to need a printout of the poem that I will be attaching. If you can't print it out, then use the one that appears on the slides. If you can't print it out, which obviously you can't if you're going to be using that, then write down the parts that you would have annotated, but really you need to be able to print out a copy of the poem. A pencil for first thoughts and ideas, and different coloured pens or highlighters. Okay, the title, In Paris with You, fairly ambiguous, which means we can't work out how the person's feeling from that. It could be they're having a hell of a romantic time there, or it could be, well, let's have a look. What associations do you have with Paris? It's a city of romance, culture. It's got the Eiffel Tower, it's got the Champs-Elysees, it's got Notre Dame, the cathedral. And what do you expect this poem to be about? Well, given that we're looking, as ever, always remember Year 10 that we're looking at the love and relationships cluster. You'd imagine that it might be about romance or a loving relationship. Now, here's the first reading. Read along with me, and we'll see what the mood of the poem is and so on after the first reading. So, In Paris with You. Don't talk to me of love. I've had an earful, and I get tearful when I've downed a drink or two. I'm one of your talking wounded. I'm a hostage. I'm marooned, but I'm in Paris with you. Yes, I'm angry at the way I've been bamboozled and resentful at the mess I've been through. I admit I'm on the rebound and I don't care where we are bound. I'm in Paris with you. Do you mind if we do not go to the Louvre, if we say sod off to sodding Notre Dame, if we skip the Champs-Elysees and remain here in this sleazy old hotel room doing this and that to what and whom, learning who you are, learning what I am? Don't talk to me of love. Let's talk of Paris, that little bit of Paris in our view. There's that crack across the ceiling and the hotel walls are peeling and I'm in Paris with you. Don't talk to me of love, let's talk of Paris. I'm in Paris with the slightest thing you do. I'm in Paris with your eyes, your mouth. I'm in Paris with all points south. Am I embarrassing you? I'm in Paris with you. And here's your first reading. Perhaps not what you were expecting. Certainly wasn't when I first read it. Give yourself time to read over the poem a couple of times, get into grips with its content. As ever, it's okay not to understand every word or idea at this point. You're just trying to get a feel for the poem. So you've got your 4 questions that you need to answer in full sentences. What is the mood of the poem? Who is speaking? Who are they speaking to? And how do they feel? So answer all of those in full sentences. 8 minutes to do that, Year 10. Brilliant. And then on to the next slide. There's our first reading again. We won't read it over again at this stage. But I want you to put these notes, this big purple box, I want you to copy it into your books. In Paris with You is told in the first person. That's I, you, rather than they and them. So it's in the first person. The speaker is addressing both a past lover who has bamboozled them and the rebound lover they are now in Paris with. So he's in this hotel room with this woman that he's recently met. He's having a relationship with, but he's on the rebound. I think we all know what that means. He's recently come to the end of a relationship where he was in love, and the use of pronouns can create ambiguity, which means sort of double meanings, as to exactly who is being addressed. The narrator doesn't want to talk about the end of the relationship, that's the one prior to him going to Paris, or even visit galleries and landmarks. Sod off to Notre Dame, he says, doesn't he? He just wants to enjoy the moment rather than thinking of the future or the past. So copy those notes into your books, please. And then on to the next slide. Okay, now we understand the speaker's situation. He's on the rebound with a new girlfriend in Paris. And the tone is he's still thinking a bit about his previous partner, but he's also, having a nice time there. He might be, in fact, making himself a little bit vulnerable to falling in love again. That might be worrying him. What can you pick out about how those feelings are presented? What devices does Fenton use to convey his feelings? Remember enjambment? Look at your list of words in the back of your book. On this second reading, don't forget to comment on form and structure. Remember rhyme schemes, the lengths of the stanzas, all those types of things. So just make some notes. I want one little short paragraph on a piece of language that shows how he's feeling, and one short paragraph on a piece of structure that shows how he's feeling. I'll give you 8 minutes to do that. Okay, we're going to go through the poem again, mentioning key details you could annotate. On this third reading, you can add to your copy of the poem in pen, confirming your own pencil ideas and adding more to it too. And, go mad, Year 10, whatever ideas you have. Honestly, it doesn't matter. This is poetry. It's looking for a personal response from you. So you have to be sort of brave and committed. And once you are, you'll find it comes very easily. Now you have to copy all of this into your books, Year 10. Okay? It's 3 paragraphs. I mean, it's not that much. It's 3 lines, 5 lines, and 4 lines. But nevertheless, yeah, you need to copy that in. The majority of stanzas follow an A, B, C, C, B rhyme scheme. We all know how to do a rhyme scheme now, don't we? However, as well as not being regular, some of the rhymes are forced, e.g. wounded and maroonded. I mean, maroonded's not a word. She's kind of he rather has extended maroonded to make it rhyme with wounded, which could suggest he is trying hard to form a new relationship even though the speaker has been hurt in the past. The opening line of the poem, twice repeated, sets an emphatically negative tone. That just means a definitely negative tone. However, the internal rhyme of earful and tearful, despite the words signalling the speaker's self-pity, immediately alleviates a sense of anger. The first stanza ends, "But I'm in Paris with you." The first lover certainly remains a present. That's the person who was in a relationship before. They're definitely present in his mind. Though the conjunction indicates that the speaker is attempting to move on physically, if not mentally. The conjunction being with. In the last stanza, the repetition of "I'm in Paris" is intended to reinforce the speaker's present situation. However, the use of repetition could be interpreted as thoughtful rumination or a forceful insistence designed to trick them into believing that they've left the ex-lover behind, or it could be suggested that the speaker is trying to protect themselves from falling in love again. Copy that into your book. Don't worry if you don't understand it all completely, but it needs to be there when we get back and get stuck into this when we're back in school again. And now the annotations. We're going to do this in 3 sections, and these all need to go into your book as well, Year 10. The opening line, "Don't talk to me of love." The opening line immediately forces the reader to abandon any preconceptions of love or romance. A severe tone is created. So, the title "In Paris with You," if you were thinking it was going to be romantic in the traditional sense, "Don't talk to me of love," disabuses you of that notion, makes you realise that that's not true. Colloquial language, an earful, here shows the reader has experienced conflict, sounds almost comical in contrast to tearful, which suggests emotional pain. Plosive is just down, drink, it's when those words that make your tongue click off the top of your mouth. It's alliteration, down to drink or two. Suggests the speaker has dealt with the relationship breakdown in a self-destructive manner through drinking a lot. "I'm a hostage." Metaphor is a hostage. Obviously, he's not literally a hostage, suggesting the speaker is trapped in a helpless situation. Wordplay, "talking wounded." I think that's the bit of wordplay that stands out in this first stanza. Most people would, the saying is "walking wounded," and it emphasizes the pain caused by the words. In the second stanza, we are "Oh, wait a minute, but I'm in Paris with you." That's the end of the first stanza, realizing that the speaker may be putting themselves at risk of heartbreak again. This is repeated throughout the poem. Bamboodles is unusually comic language for the situation, and it suggests that he's confused. Rebound, further wordplay, rebound and webound, perhaps indicate that the speaker's anger is dissipating. Maybe he's relaxing a bit. Repetition of the final line, omitting the but, presents a movement towards acceptance, because it starts out, but I'm in Paris with you, and at the end of the second stanza he's saying, I'm in Paris with you. So maybe he's moving on a bit. Okay, here we are. Here's the middle three stanzas. First of all, at Notre Dame, the Louvre, Notre Dame and Champs-Élysées represents a conventional representation of Paris, as in that's where you'd go if you were a normal tourist or a pair of lovers there, normally conveying a reluctance of the speaker to accept traditional and stereotypical relationships. He probably did all those things with his previous partner and doesn't want to do them again. If we skip the Champs-Élysées, that's colloquial language. You know, he doesn't want to do any of that. Just dismisses it. Colloquial just means casual language. There's an enjambment to the first stanza. Remember, to the fourth stanza rather. Do you remember what enjambment means? It's when a line ends without punctuation and runs on through into the next line. It's particularly powerful if it's used at the end of a stanza. So the enjambment into the fourth stanza emphasises the contrast of stereotypical romantic Paris with that of a sleazy old hotel room. Perhaps suggests that the speaker's new relationship is a physical one rather than a sentimental one. Learning, those two lines, learning who you are, learning what I am. Repetition of learning changes the tone. It suggests that the relationship is becoming more intimate. The speaker is willing to discover new things about his partner. So he's moving in a positive direction as this poem goes on. The little bit of Paris in our view. Paris becomes a metaphor for their blossoming relationship. That little bit of Paris that they can see, which is basically the ceiling of their hotel room, indicates that the speaker is, you know, perhaps thinking that he might be able to have a relationship with this person. He could fall in love again. And rhyming, emphasising the destruction of their environment, sealing and peeling, symbolising the light entering as they understand each other better. So I don't expect you to understand all of those, but I do expect you to annotate your copy of the poem with all of those annotations. And the last stanza, repetition of, well, don't talk to me of love, let's talk of Paris. I'm in Paris with the slightest thing you do. I'm in Paris with your mouth. I'm in Paris with all points south. Am I embarrassing you? I'm in Paris with you. So repetition of the imperative don't offers a reminder that the speaker does not want to label the relationship. So he may be relaxing, but he's not that relaxed. The repetition of I'm in Paris with perhaps a metaphor for their glowing, they're getting closer. All points south, that's sexual innuendo, playing with the image of travelling, perhaps a contrast to the expectation about comments about physical beauty. Again, the speaker does not meet expectations. He's not being romantic, he's being a bit, well, saucy there, frankly, isn't he? The poem ends with a potential resolution. Perhaps the speaker has decided to pursue the relationship, although it is unclear if they are happy. So they're a bit of a turning point at the end. Now you have to make the notes as we normally do. You need to make some notes referring to the speaker and their feelings and perspective. At least 3 quotations, which you'll obviously learn before next week when we do some more poetry. Some literary terminology, points you can make about both language and structure, and the theme of this poem. There's a couple of themes really, a bit of pain in there really, a bit of loss, also desire, reflection, recovery. So there's multiple themes to that one. Now I would like you, now that we're all uploading the work onto ClassCharts and it's all being monitored, I'd like you to upload your annotations to ClassCharts please, and I will give you achievement points for doing that. And every 2 weeks I'll be actually looking closely at a bit of your work. In fact, this is such a small class, I'll be looking closely at all of it. So well done Year 10, you're all Marines, very proud of you all, and I shall speak to you next time.